teaches people to believe very strongly in things for which there is no evidence, on grounds of authority or internal revelation or just plain faith, just plain stubborn belief because we believe it. Such strong beliefs, not being evidence-based, inevitably can be different and contradictory to the beliefs of other people, which can lead to legal conflict, as we see all the time and are seeing at the moment. Religion teaches you to be satisfied with non-explanations for things as though they were explanations. And in some cases even that belief without evidence is seen as a positive virtue. It stifles the sort of investigative approach to the world which I think is unequivocally a good thing and which has led to most of the progress which humanity has made. I think that religion is actively subversive of genuine education, that it actually is inimical to true education. I would like to see unequivocally a decline in the influence of religion. I think it's a great evil. I think it makes for an enormous amount of unhappiness, and the world would unquestionably be a better place without it. I'm not optimistic that that will happen in the short term, however. If you look within the social strata, however, you'll find that more educated people are more likely to be non-religious, which seems to me to be a revealing thing as well as a good sign. I sort of regard religion as an annoying distraction that one has to pay attention to because it's so enormously influential. But I look forward to a time when we don't have to bother with it anymore and can concentrate on doing something more worthwhile. Evolution is a fact, beyond reasonable doubt, beyond serious doubt, beyond sane, informed, intelligent doubt. Beyond doubt, evolution is a fact. So says Richard Dawkins, a collection of little snippets of things that he said. So if you believe in God, you are unreasonable, not serious, insane, uninformed, and unintelligent. Welcome to church. I'm sure you're glad you're here. So, can you be a sane, informed, intelligent individual and believe in God? Is God real? And does it really matter anyway? Debate between theism and atheism. God, no God. Creation, evolution. Brought into focus again 2 weeks ago with the Q&A debate between Richard Dawkins and Cardinal Pell. Who saw the debate, by the way? Yeah, a few hands. But I thought the debate was pretty mediocre and really went nowhere. It was almost like Cardinal Pell treated it as more of a game than a serious debate, which was very unfortunate. Now, we don't have time today to go into a detailed analysis of the evidence for and against God, but I do want to look at just a couple of key things. Reasons to believe. Just a few, just a taste of some of them. For some of you, perhaps enough to be convincing as to why you should believe. For others, maybe at least enough of a reason to consider why it's worth challenging conventional wisdom and at least considering other options. So reasons to believe, just a taste of them. And secondly, why does it matter anyway? What difference does it actually make? What difference does it make to my life? What difference should it be making? What difference does it make to your lives? So why do I actually believe? Am I just insane? And Tash, you don't need to answer that. I mean, first of all, for me, there's the element of creation. Right from the start, I feel that we need to make some kind of decision. In Genesis and in Psalms, the Bible writers make it very clear that the world was created, that the world has a beginning. Why do they emphasise that? Because it's so fundamental to the rest of what follows in the Bible. If we have a creator, we have a purpose. If we're not created, we might as well stop right now and we can all go home. Genesis 1 says right at the beginning of the Bible, in the beginning God created. David elaborates a little bit more on some of his thinking around it in Psalms. And if we take just a little passage out of Psalms 104, the way it's worded in the Message, David said, "Oh yes, God brings grain from the land, wine to make people happy, their faces glowing with health, and people well fed and hearty. God's trees are well watered, the Lebanon cedars he planted. Birds build their nests in those trees. Look, the stork at home in the treetop. Mountain goats climb about the cliffs. Badgers burrow under the rocks. The moon keeps track of the seasons. The sun is in charge of each day. When it's dark and night takes over, all the forest creatures come out. The young lions roar for their prey, clamouring to God for their supper. When the sun comes up, they vanish, lazily stretched out in their dens. Meanwhile, men and women go out to work, busy at their jobs until evening. What a wildly wonderful world, God. You made it all with wisdom at your side, made earth overflow with your wonderful creations. Oh look, the deep, wide sea, brimming with fish past counting, sardines and sharks and salmon. Ships plough those waters, and Leviathan, your pet dragon, walks in them. All the creatures look expectantly to you to give them their meals on time. You come and they gather around. You open your hand and they eat from it. If you turn your back, they die in a minute. Take back your spirit and they die. Revert to original mud. Send out your spirit and they spring to life. The whole countryside in bloom and blossom. The glory of God, let it last forever. Let God enjoy his creation. What's David saying? In his view, we're designed. We're in awe of God's creation. Now I've got a little exercise and I need a volunteer to help me out here. We've got anyone who wants to put their hand up? Otherwise I'll executively make a decision and volunteer somebody. Brady is volunteering his father. Thank you, Joseph. I'm glad you've got a son that's keen to volunteer. Now, every exercise obviously has its limitations, but just for a bit of fun. Now, Joseph, I'd like you to pick up these blocks and throw them in the bucket, thanks. Just pick up the handle, throw them in the bucket. Yep. All almost, whatever suits you. Throw them. It's not looking very nicely designed. Can you do it again, Joseph? I'd like you to shake it around a bit. Still not much of a design. You have managed to stick two of them together. I'm pretty impressed that you even managed to stick two of them together, though, with your shaking. Now, thanks, Joseph. That's fine. Now, do you think if Joseph just kept on shaking for the afternoon, perhaps, or maybe for his lifetime, do you think we'd end up with a beautifully designed object within this box? Now, obviously, I can pull this out. I can build something with it. I won't do it right now, but I can build a little house with it. It's nicely designed and structured with all the blocks pressed nicely together. But what's the point? This is very simple, just a few blocks in a bag. And yet we all know that it's not going to turn into something by itself, no matter how much we throw it and shake it and do other things with it. It'll turn into a design if it has a designer. And yet, many people seem willing to accept that something vastly more complex, even the most basic form of life, could just happen spontaneously by itself. Now, can we just throw up on the screen another little exercise? I always loved when I was at school, even the evolutionary diagrams that we got, showing all the similarities between different things and how that clearly demonstrated that one had evolved from the next. And again, what we're going to do is not going to disprove that in any way. All it's going to do is just throw out an alternative view that, to me at least, gives reason to question, to ask the question, is this the only way? Okay, let's go. A long time ago, we had the evolution of the first clock. I'm not sure why it happened, but somehow a little stick came out of the ground. People noticed that the light came around it, found that a very useful thing. Now, over time, it evolved as people needed to get more accurate time and things. It evolved a second hand, as you'll see here. It also started to operate by itself without just the power of the sun to throw the shadow. Now, as the clock evolved, you'll see it started to get some numbers and things on it. One part of the evolution went through some different designs here. You'll see from the orange that we've got here, we've got some different shapes starting to emerge in it over time. And at one point in the evolutionary process, a gene must have broken and the bottom of the clock separated. And we even got a more stable clock form, and I'm pretty sure that that's why that occurred and why that was selected for. Now, people also seem to desire a clock that didn't sort of have to carry around the whole chest and wanted to take the time with them. So clocks began to evolve into a smaller form. Now, as they evolved into a smaller form, they seemed to develop some kind of appendage on them. We're not quite sure why or what the purpose of it was at the beginning, but you'll see over time it started to develop a purpose. We started to get a chain on it to make it easy to cover, and a cover that even began to protect the top. We evolved into more beautiful designs. We've got longer chains and things on them. And if we move to the next slide, the longer chains and different colours and things emerged, and ultimately emerged into something that was very easy to carry on your wrist with this beautiful band that's evolved onto it. So we keep going. And so from this band, we went into all different forms, different shapes. We've got some more complex things on the faces of them. And then finally, for some reason, we've got this light start to emerge that started to tick along the clocks instead of needing a physical hand. And we started to move into this digital thing. First of all, we still had hands and things on them as well as the digital form on them. And over time, we moved to just a digital form. And we keep on going. As we moved to the digital form, we ultimately moved to the complete peak of the digital watch cycle, and we got to the Casio. From the Casio, we've got a few more buttons on the front, as you can see here. And people started taking them off to try and work these jolly calculators on the thing because they were so small they couldn't get their fingers on them. And so we moved on. And the band became a little unnecessary because people kept using it in their hands, so evolutionary, the band kind of slowly disappeared off them, and we moved into this kind of form here. And ultimately we reached the peak of the evolutionary cycle. Yeah. Now again, it's a bit of fun. What's the point? You know, the point is, just because something has consistent patterns in it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't have a designer. We see it around us all the time. Computers have consistent patterns and design over a long period of time. But they've been designed. We've seen one emerge to the next as designers have looked at them and built on what's already been in place. When I see design, I generally think I see a designer. I work in an environment where we work with design and marketing and things. Jason here sitting in the front works on design on a day-to-day basis. When he presents something to me, just this beautiful work of art, I don't look at it and think, man, how did that happen? I generally think it was a designer that was working. There are some things you've probably heard of the concept that are irreducibly complex, that don't seem to make sense in terms of how they were developed unless all the pieces were there. People sometimes discuss the eye in this way. When a baby develops, you have this nerve that starts growing from the brain and another one from the eye. And the two independently grow towards each other and ultimately join up. How do some of these processes just happen when it needs the whole process, not just a part of it, for any part of it to actually work? And another one that for me makes sense is the concept of entropy. That things move from a higher energy state to a lower energy state. If you think about a candle, what will happen? If I had a candle here burning, just a small one, the wax supplies the energy and it burns away. As the wax is consumed, what happens? The candle goes out. Does it stay hot when the candle goes out? No, it dissipates off into the surrounding area. We go from a higher energy state to a lower energy state. If I have a thing of ice and I sit it on the table, it'll slowly melt as we go into a state that just reflects the surrounding environment. The energy dissipates. Mountains, short of fresh energy from a volcano, very slowly erode and flatten from more complex to less complex. A city left to the jungle. I spent some time in Cambodia. And as you walk around a place there called Angkor Wat, a historical city that surrounds all of that area, you see the jungle and huge trees growing out of what was once a significant city. And it's just all broken down. You see rocks all broken, fallen across the ground. It would be very hard in many parts of the area now to identify that a city was even there. Without the designer that built the city, it's reverting from complex to less complex. Cars, if we don't do anything with them, deteriorate and rust. We see this happening every day, and yet we're somehow willing to accept that over millions and millions of years, life just happened on its own, and it's evolved from simple to complex, to greater and greater complexity, not just over a short period of time, but over quite a long period of time. Other things that stand out to me are the Bible, prophecy and the fulfillment of prophecy. Some of you have heard me read previously Isaiah 53, one of my favourite passages in the Bible. And I'm just going to read you a little snapshot out of it here. It says, look, he had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. Nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind. A man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him. And by his wounds we are healed. There's very strong evidence. This passage was written hundreds of years prior to Jesus' birth. And it goes into intimate detail of his life and his death. Read the whole passage if you haven't read it for some time. Why else? I believe there's strong evidence that Jesus did exist and was crucified. C.S. Lewis makes the point that if Jesus claims to be God, he's either our Lord, a liar, or a lunatic. He can't just be a great teacher and claim to be God. He could be any one of the three. You can choose which one you want. For me, I believe there's also strong evidence of a resurrection. If there's evidence of a resurrection, it only leaves us one option for which one he could be. One piece of evidence for the resurrection, and it's only one, is the change in the attitude of the disciples from one night to the next. From Peter on the night of Christ's crucifixion, denying him and turning away from him, all the disciples scattering and leaving him. At that point, they were in fear. They weren't standing up courageously saying, I'll go down with you, Lord. And yet he was there right with them. And even with him in their midst, they weren't going down with him. They were running away. They were fleeing. They were denying him. And yet a couple of days later, they were out proclaiming him as alive and preached it to the death of almost every one of them. Something significantly changed in their lives for them to be willing to do that and for them to have such a big change. And finally, I believe because of my personal experiences. Some of you have heard earlier in the year me share a little bit of my story and some of the things that I've experienced. But ultimately, God gives meaning and purpose to my life. And I've seen him work in my life and the lives of other people and make a difference that I can't just explain away as chance. So do you believe? For many of us who have been in church a long time, it's easy to just respond, yeah, of course I believe. But think about your life, the choices you make, the things you actually prioritise, the things you have time for, and the things you don't have time for. Do you really believe? Do you doubt? The answer to this question has consequences for how we live our life now, and it has eternal consequences. This is the most important question for us to answer over the course of our lives. What we believe drives our view of the world. What we believe develops the values by which we live. What we believe determines the purpose of our lives. Our purpose determines the way we behave, what we do, the choices that we make. The Bible also says that beyond the consequences right now, there are eternal issues at stake for us and for other people. What we believe is incredibly important. We do need to decide whether we evolved from slime and monkeys and have no purpose other than to live out our days, play the game and seek our own pleasure, or if we believe we are created and have a God-ordained purpose to live, love, create, protect, draw others to God. If we fundamentally exist for self, or if we fundamentally, in fact, exist for God and for others, if we believe in God or humanism, whichever way you want to cut it, atheism, humanism, is ultimately about self. It develops from an evolutionary mindset, survival of the fittest. It attempts to explain social behaviour as an evolved survival mechanism. We're more likely to survive and pass on our genes by cooperating in community. But the purpose, if there is one, is still our own survival. It's ultimately all about me. I will do what I need to ensure my survival. I am the leader of the pack. I will climb that corporate ladder. I will lead. I will have more. I am the most important. But Christianity presents a completely opposing view. It's not just slightly different or off to the side. It is a completely opposing view. It teaches us to serve, to live sacrificially, that our purpose is love. It's ultimately about others. That we live in a sinful world. That God will do anything to save us, including giving up his own life. That he's paid the price at tremendous cost and now simply says, I have the perfect world prepared for you, but please bring as many people as you can with you. I love them. I gave my life for them. Self, others. Self, love. You can't have it both ways. The choice you make has a huge impact now and on your future. It's worth investing whatever time, energy, research it requires to make a decision. God doesn't want indecision on this issue. He doesn't want fence sitting on this issue. Revelation 3:15 to 17 says it absolutely clearly. There's no beating around the bush. He says, I know your deeds, that you're neither hot nor cold. I wish you were one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. You say, I'm rich, I've acquired wealth, and do not need a thing. But you do not realise you're wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, naked. God doesn't mince words about this. God despises lukewarm. You need to make a decision. Now, many people here have already decided for God. I've decided for God. So that's it. I have it all together. It's all easy now, right? I wish. But we still live in a sinful world. We still have our sinful nature. I find all too often I say I believe in God, but my thoughts, my actions suggest I'm actually living for myself. And I'm not alone. I listen to Paul. Paul says, I don't understand what I do. But what I want to do, I don't do. But what I hate, I do. A little bit more of the passage from the Message. What I don't understand about myself is that I decide one way, but then I act another. doing things I absolutely despise. So, if I can't be trusted to figure out what's best for myself and then do it, it becomes obvious that God's command is necessary. But I need something more. For I know the law, but I still can't keep it. And if the power of sin within me keeps sabotaging my best intentions, I obviously need help. I realise that I don't have what it takes. I can will it, but I can't do it. I decide to do good, but I don't actually do it. I decide not to do bad, but then I do it anyway. My decisions, such as they are, don't result in actions. Something's gone wrong deep within me and gets the better of me every time. It happens so regularly that it's predictable. The moment I decide to do good, sin is there to trip me up. I truly delight in God's commands. But it's pretty obvious that not all of me joins in that delight. Parts of me covertly rebel. And just when I least expect it, they take charge. I've tried everything and nothing helps. I'm at the end of my rope. Is there no one who can do anything for me? Isn't that the real question? That's Paul. Look at David, the adulterer and murderer, and man after God's own heart. Moses, killing the Egyptian, hitting a rock with his staff, but being used by God to lead the children of Israel. Peter, denying Jesus in his moment of greatest need and pain. Abraham, claiming his wife as his sister. Heroes of the Bible, yet so fallible. Now, it's easy to be critical, but as I look at their faults, I just see myself. Lord, I believe, but why is it not making a bigger difference in my life? Lord, I believe, but why am I sometimes so selfish? Lord, I believe, but why do I still struggle so much with sin? Lord, I believe, but why can I be so impatient with my kids? Lord, I believe, but why don't I have time for you? Lord, I believe, but why am I not listening to you? Lord, I believe. Do I believe? Lord, I believe. Please help my unbelief. Lord, I believe. Please change me. Lord, I believe. Please use me. I believe. Make me more like you. Lord, I believe. Forgive me. I've done it again. Lord, I believe, but I have so much to learn. I'm so frail, weak. I can't do it alone. I can't do it, Lord. And he answers, yes. Now you're ready for me to achieve great things through you. You are frail and weak. You can't do it alone. But with me, you can move mountains. I forgive you. I love you so much. I gave my life for you. I will place a purpose on your life. And as we go on a journey together, you will believe. And your life will be transformed. John Lennon, that great musician and theologian, once said, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. And too often we can let it become like that. We let it slip through our fingers by not being conscious about what we believe, what our purpose is, what our priorities are. But no, it doesn't have to be like that. In fact, Jesus doesn't want it to be like that. Life is not what happens while you're busy doing something else. Your life has a God-ordained purpose.
As Stephen Covey would say, don't let the urgent get in the way of what's really important. Don't let what's right in front of you now prevent you from sitting down and planning the things that are most important. Don't let apathy, the lack of important decisions about your priorities, get in the way of achieving something of real value. Listen to Paul again in Romans 8. Now, I'm just taking snippets through the chapter, so it's not the whole chapter. But he goes like this, he says this: with the arrival of Jesus the Messiah, a fateful dilemma is resolved. Those who enter into Christ's being here for us no longer have to live under a continuous no longer have to live under a continuous low-lying black cloud. A new power is in operation. The Spirit of life in Christ, like a strong wind, has magnificently cleared the air, freeing you from a fated lifetime of brutal tyranny at the hands of sin and death. God went for the jugular when he sent his own Son. He didn't deal with the problem as something remote and unimportant. In his Son Jesus, he personally took on the human condition, entered the disordered mess of struggling humanity in order to set it right once and for all. God knew what he was doing from the very beginning. He decided from the outset to shape the lives of those who loved him along the same lines as the life of his Son. The Son stands first in the line of humanity he restored. We see the original and intended shape of our lives there in Jesus. After God made that decision of what his children should be like, he followed it up by calling people by name. After he called them by name, he set them on a solid basis with himself. And then after getting them established, he stayed with them to the end, gloriously completing what he had begun. So what do you think? With God on our side like this, how can we lose? If God didn't hesitate to put everything on the line for us, embracing our condition and exposing himself to the worst by sending his own Son, is there anything else he wouldn't gladly and freely do for us? And who would dare tangle with God by messing with one of God's chosen? Who would dare even to point a finger? The one who died for us, who was raised to life for us, is in the presence of God at this very moment, sticking up for us. Do you think anyone is going to be able to drive a wedge between us and Christ's love for us? There is no way. Not trouble, not hard times, not hatred, not hunger, not homelessness, not bullying, threats, not backstabbing, not even the worst sins listed in Scripture. None of this phases us because Jesus loves us. I'm absolutely convinced that nothing living or dead, angelic or demonic, today or tomorrow, high or low, thinkable or unthinkable, absolutely nothing can get between us and God's love because of the way that Jesus, our Master, has embraced us. Does Paul sound convinced? Is Paul convincing? So if it's true, what impact will this have on your life? If this is the most important thing that affects our lives, what impact will it have on us on a day-to-day basis? What choices will you make? How will you live your life differently? How will you make sure you're prioritising what's really important? How will your life, your purpose, values, actions be different because of what you believe? I'm not here to tell you what decisions to make. You need to do that on your own and in your families and in conversation with God. But I am convinced that God is real, and I am convinced it makes all the difference. And while I struggle on a daily basis and am very imperfect, I'm committed to digging deeper, to learning more, to living differently, and to gradually becoming more like Christ. And today I'd just like to ask you to do the same. And to commit to doing the same. to spending more time thinking about the things that are most important, to changing the way you live to better reflect your beliefs and God's priorities. As a church, together we have an opportunity to go on this journey, to encourage each other, to ask each other how we're going spiritually, with living better lives, with living more like Christ. Let's not let our relationships in church be superficial and miss the core reason we all come together. Let's encourage each other, challenge each other, and build each other up so we do each become more like Christ. God is real. Your life matters. Make the most of your time to make a difference in your family, your community, your church. Make the most of your time to do things that will have eternal value. Just bow your heads and close your eyes for a moment. If as you listen today, you've decided you want to place more focus on the most important things in life, becoming more like Jesus, or living in a way that better reflects his priorities, or if for the first time you're really convinced that God is real and you want to place your life in his hands, just keep your head bowed and silently in your mind tell God that in your own words. Tell him the commitment you'd like to make, how you'd like things to be different. And I think most of us would. I'm just going to give you a moment in prayer by yourself just to tell God what you're thinking and what's on your mind, how you'd like to commit more to him, how you'd like to live differently because of what he's done. And then I'll pray. Lord, we come here together to worship you. We're all in different places on our journey. Some of us are convinced and are already putting it into practice in our lives. Some of us are convinced and are struggling on a day-to-day basis to put it into practice in our lives. Some of us are just not convinced. That's it. But Lord, wherever we are on the journey, I'd just like to invite you into this place right now. I'd like you to invite you into the hearts of each person who's opening their hearts and mind to you today. You've heard the prayers go up from around the church of things that people would like to do differently. And Lord, I pray that you give people the courage, the energy to put some of those things into practice. To not just keep them secret in their minds and with you as they are at the moment, but to share them with others so others can encourage them. To share them in their families, to share them in our church, so that we can build each other up and help each other grow closer to you. Lord, we thank you for what you've done in giving your life for us. We thank you that you are our advocate and that you want to see us in heaven with you. And we thank you that, as Paul says, there's nothing that we've done in our past. There's nothing that can separate us from your love. And Lord, I just pray that we'll each walk into your arms today and walk out of here in your presence, to live in your presence, to live lives that really matter under your purpose and your direction. In Jesus' name.